and welcome back to ADIPEC Energy Dialogues, a series of conversations we're bringing you in the run-up to ADIPEC 2020, taking place this November. And I'm just delighted to be joined today by Heather Wilcott, who is the manager of digital upstream for Imperial Oil. Heather, welcome to Energy Dialogues.
Thank you, Jeffrey. It's great to be here. I'm honored to be a part of this.
Now, you've had a terrific background. In fact, you and I were speaking earlier about the importance of individuals from the business taking a leadership role in guiding the path forward on digital. You're a process and chemical engineer. You've had a variety of roles in the oil industry. Maybe you could just sketch just a little bit about your background for us.
Sure. Yeah, I have a master's degree in chemical engineering, and I've worked for Imperial for 22 years this year, and as you said, in a variety of engineering roles, including chemical and process engineering, but also in our operations integrity and safety teams as well. And I have a diverse background, including project execution, that really allows me a firm base in understanding where the opportunity spaces are for digital. And I think that's a key to success in digital teams, is understanding what are the real problems to attack versus what are the cool technologies to apply.
So let's first turn immediately to what's been your experience so far in implementing digital change through what is a fairly large and sophisticated organization like Imperial Oil.
Like we talked about before, really, it's a journey. We started about 2.5 years ago down this path, trying to build a digital team. And truthfully, when I started in this role, I didn't know what digital was. I got a new role that you're the digital manager, and figure out what that means and what we should be working on. And so we've been going down a journey and learning as we go. And there's been a spectrum of how people receive digital technology, from early adopters and keen users of new technology to those who are embedded in the way that things have always been. And so all of us together are going down this journey of applying new technologies to our business problems.
Which raises the question in my mind is if we're on a journey, how long will the journey be? Is this a sort of once and done thing, like turning on a new capital asset, or is this something that's likely to be a bit longer in terms of its timeline?
I think it's a forever journey. It's a change in the way that we do our work. So digital is an enabler of how we achieve our business goals. So the journey can't stop, unless our business goals stop. So we keep on learning and applying the new technology and new innovations to get better business results. So I think it'd be foolish to say that it ever ends. It will morph, I think, into maybe right now it's a very carved off piece of scope given to a specific, but in the future, I think it'll be just more embedded in the way that we work all the time in every group.
And so, like any journey, you have to start somewhere. How do you get started in something like this?
So we started the journey with some help from management consulting and helping us to set up kind of a team and an operating model and kind of get our first set of digital opportunities in the hopper. And we appreciated that help from management consultants to get us kind of on going, get us started. But then we really took the ball and have been rolling with it. So they helped us to set up, what are the key components of your operating model? How do you execute digital projects? How's that different than executing, a traditional waterfall capital project? And it is definitely different. And so we've learned those basics, and then we've been learning from our experiences as we go through.
Earlier on, you mentioned that there is lots of opportunity out there. I'd like to really turn the question now to how you discern between noise and substance in digital. We're almost bombarded constantly with stories about digital. So how do you discern in oil and gas between what's real and what's not?
Yeah, that's a hard question. When I started in this role, I felt that pressure of every vendor and every big IT company coming to us, telling us they had, this wonderful platform and this wonderful team that could do everything for us, and they were good at everything, and we should deploy all these technologies. And it's very hard to know which ones are the good ones and which ones are not. And I think you just have to do it gradually and learn. But the key, I think, in all of that is to take small steps, and also to really get back to the foundation of you're trying to solve a business problem. You're not trying to deploy a new technology or a massive platform. You really want to take a baby step into that digital realm of how can I make this one process better? You know, how can I learn more from my data? You know, look to your business problems and your business goals first, and then decide what's the smallest step you could take to get towards those goals.
And in the course of that journey, are you finding that there are any skeptics in the business? Are people still skeptical about the potential here, or is the world largely been won over?
I think everyone's a skeptic until they see it for themselves, including myself, right? I mean, you know, we're probably known to be a conservative company, and historically we've been kind of not wanting to be first to apply a new technology. And we've changed our attitude towards that. We do want to be first on some of these things, but we want to manage our risk as well. So there's so much opportunity out there to just apply existing technologies that you don't really have to step way out there to make an impactful move in your business goals. So there's no easy answer to which one's snake oil, which one's the good stuff, but I think you just have to ask a lot of questions and ask for examples of, you know, where has the technology been applied? Show me, and internally, show me becomes a very strong and powerful tool and accelerator. Once you can show a small success, you get a lot more enthusiasm and pull for the next success, right?
Are the digital programs that therefore, as they kind of start off, are they by definition smaller and more contained, so that you know you wait till you see the results? Is that the approach that seems to pay off?
I think it is. I think, you know, if you listen to a lot of the hype and even you know, it's good to have a long-term vision and a moonshot and where do you want to go. But you can't get there in one step. And so in order to get traction and keep the ball moving, you have to take a small piece and get a small win. But you can't only take incremental small wins. You know, some things need to be bigger goals and bigger visions. So it's kind of a mix, you know, how do you mix the small wins to get the momentum and get the hearts and minds of all the people bought in, but how do you not just incrementalize yourself to, you know, very small gains, right? So it's a mixture, I think.
Have you taken any lessons away from, you know, this journey that you've been on that really stand out for you?
Yeah, we've had a few lessons. I mean, I think the concept of agile and the concept of digital transformation, a lot of people talk about fail fast. And I would say we embrace that concept, but we're not yet great at it. You know, the black and white of fail fast is harder to see when you're in it. You think you've started with a small piece, you've applied your agile, you're going through your you know, your 2-week sprints. The problem with that is knowing when to stop, because it's not typically like you get, oh, 2 weeks into it, nope, it's not going to work. It's more like, well, just another 2 weeks, just another 2 weeks, just another 2 weeks. And so knowing when to say, I could keep going on this and I could find success, but I might be better off to spend my time and my resources on something that's more certain and has more probability of success. That's been a learning for us that we're still learning. You know, how and when do you stop something to shift to something that's got a higher probability of success and rapid business gains?
Have there been any projects so far that have been particularly impactful that you've noted that kind of delivered results that are surprising or even beyond what you may have anticipated before you went into them?
Yeah, actually, I mean, one of the first projects we embarked on was a project to provide workforce visibility for our maintenance workforce, our trade workforce. to be able to see that real-time visibility of the demand and the supply at the same time, and then make sure that we're matching those two together, that that we don't have excess resource on our site, and that we're making the most out of our maintenance budget. And that project started out with, thinking it was a small win, and it actually turned out to be one of our biggest wins. And it wasn't complicated of technology. It was just, getting the data and making the data visible. And that allowed us to make some very important decisions about managing our costs. That one's been a huge win for us. And in fact, our maintenance effectiveness portfolio has been one of our best successes since we started down this journey, because each of the things we've done, we've been able to layer on top of that. So, we did some work on our workforce visibility tool. We then developed a tool to do schedule optimization to help us minimize wasted resource and minimize risk to get the optimal workforce and get all of our work done that needs to get done in the right time. Those things layered upon each other have really compounded the benefit to optimizing our maintenance costs.
And what was the scale of maintenance activities that would drive you in this direction? Is it hundreds of tasks, thousands of tasks? What was the scale of this?
So at our Curl site, we have a very large site and a very large maintenance workforce and a very large amount of PM maintenance for a mine. So the large workforce and the large maintenance that we have results in us having in the order of 50,000 tasks a week to schedule. And it's just ripe for digital technology. A human can't possibly optimize 50,000 tasks. And so we used, mathematical optimization models and constraint-based modeling to get the right schedule and optimize the, 50 plus trades on site with all of those tasks and optimize the use of that labor workforce. That's been a huge success for us, and we're going to deploy that same kind of optimization model in other scheduling arenas, such as our shutdown planning and potentially our project schedules as well.
And just thinking about the Curl site too, I mean, it's distant from any, even from Fort McMurray, which is probably the closest location. So there's this enormous mobilization challenge just to move the maintenance teams to and from the site. Does that factor into some of the benefit savings here, as you just manage even the mobilization costs are in a much better position?
Yeah, I mean, as a whole, maintenance is a big part of our operating expenditures. And so, our focus in the last year or two has been minimizing our expenditures. And this is a key opportunity area for us. So everything we can do to minimize the amount of people at site, minimize the risk, minimize the travel, ultimately helps us reduce the overall costs, right? And of course, the costs, it's multiplicative because you'll have workers, which means you have to have supervisors. And so, the more work you can minimize and optimize, the bigger the benefit to the bottom line.
Bigger the prize, exactly. Yeah, so it sounds like as you've gone down through this digital journey, and you have sorted through where the opportunities are. I'm sure a handful of technologies continue to bubble up to the top as being this platform set around which these journeys tend to take place. I wonder if you could sketch out, just at a high level, what's in that basket of critical technologies that just over and over again continue to surface as the basis for a digital journey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there is a handful, and I probably first and foremost is our data. A big, huge piece of digital is the foundation, right? Your data and your connectivity are what allow you to do so many other things, layer on analytics, and make better decisions. So a big part of what's been successful for us is being able to connect our data. We built a data lake. And so we're now able to connect data sets that we weren't easily able to connect before. So data, big data, cloud technology is key to our success. And then layering onto that, analytics and artificial intelligence are, everyone talks about machine learning. That's just one small component, I think, of digital technologies, but a very important one. Taking that data and making, analyzing it and using it to make better decisions is key in optimizing the use of our existing assets and our people. So those two for sure. I mean, if I move, down the road, there's a few other key technologies that we've been seeing repeatedly. One is, connected workers and connected equipment. Again, those are another part of what I would consider to be foundation, knowing where your people are for safety reasons, productivity reasons, knowing where your equipment and your tools are for the same kind of reasons, can then open up the arena for things like route optimization and all kinds of safety and emergency response applications. And a lot of that hinges on your connectivity as well, right? So, at our sites, we're lucky to have enabled a pervasive LTE at our sites, and we have very good fiber connectivity as well at our sites. So those are key kind of critical foundation layers. Some of the other technologies that we see over and over are, we see digital twin and 3D scan as some key technologies that we are now exploring. Those things can enable us to do remote engineering. And as you mentioned, our Curl site is not nearby. And so the less people we mobilize to site, the lower our costs and the lower our risks are. So if we can do remote engineering and remote maintenance planning, digital twin and 3D scans enable us to do some of that stuff. Some other key technologies that we see are automation and robotics and UAVs. Kind of those three together, first and foremost, can remove people from hazardous locations and situations. If you think about UAVs, even in vessel inspections, we don't have to scaffold up inside of a big vessel and risk people's safety. We can go in and look with a drone and see where we need to scaffold before we ever build a bunch of scaffolds. And then, of course, autonomous haul trucks are the key technology we've deployed up at our Curl site. Again, removing people out of hazardous situations. And robotics, I think, we're going there a little, but I think it's going to be a key technology in the future. And there's all sorts of interesting technologies in those areas. You've seen, Spot from Boston Dynamics, or things like robotic refueling of trucks are one of the things that we've been looking into. So those are a few of the key technologies that we see occurring over and over. But really the data and the connectivity, the foundational things, are kind of key starting points to get the other things layered on.
I think the notion of, in a remote site, a pervasive purpose-built network that gives you the ability to connect workers, things, equipment, and provide that visibility is a great starting point for a scenario like yours.
Yep, and a lot of people will talk about, the foundational part of digital technology and digital transformation being those foundational layers. And I think the part that sometimes gets forgotten is that people are also sensors, right? So your people is like connecting a sensor. So your people are giving, insights that other sensors don't give. Hazard observations, for example, that's a people sensor. And if that's connected real time into your system, you have real time hazard information.
Yeah, finding ways to capture that is the key. Like, how do you capture a human censored piece of information or insight? The photograph with a phone, perhaps.
Yeah, and all of that depends on you being able to connect.
Quite right. Is there an additive effect that you may have noted? So say in the scenario where you apply more than one technology in some sort of structured fashion to tackle a specific business problem, does it yield a bigger benefit than just say deploying a single technology at a time? Have you noticed any of that phenomenon happening?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, just to give an example, yeah, I'm a big fan of layering technology, because if I give the example of mobility, we deployed tablets to our workers at the work front so that they could have access to whatever tools they need to at the work front. So that in itself is probably, if you were to quantify the value, people would talk about it in terms of, I saved, 20 minutes from not having to drive back to the office. But the real benefit is much bigger than that. So if you can now get those people connected at their work front and give them the tools that they need, like their work orders, like their hazard assessments, all those things, or like their prioritization of which site to go to, and their algorithms that tell them how to optimize the well that they're going to. If they can have those right at their work front, now you've made them more productive, not just in time savings, but you've enabled them to get more production faster for the company. And so that layering then takes those foundational time savers and amplifies their value to now production addition, right? Production optimization.
Yeah, it adds. I love this notion of layering on top. It's get the foundation right, layers and layers, and of course you're learning as you go. And it's not you're not once and done. It's a journey. But this raises right away this to me this question of the impact that this is having on talent and people, because these technologies are they're new. They change quite quickly. The oil and gas industry is well known for its high focus on reliability and safety, which means you don't change it that quickly. I wonder if we could turn the discussion to how you see what is the implications for this on talent?
Yeah, I think probably a few things. One is internal talent. I think everybody needs to upskill, including me and including our leadership, right? We're trying to go down a transformational path. And if everybody doesn't know what that means and what the technologies are that can help us, it's probably not going to succeed. So you need kind of a vast inspiration and urgency setting in your organization. So everybody needs to kind of up their playing level to understand, how can digital enable my business goals? That's kind of key to start with. But then if you want to execute some digital projects, you do need the right skills to do that. And data science is one that we recognize right off the start with some advice from our management consultants. And we recognized that we needed that locally. We needed the data scientists to sit with our working teams and to be able to look at the data with those subject matter experts and gain those insights and look for those opportunities. That's been key, bringing in data scientists to our organization. But I think the other skill set that we've leveraged a lot in our team is the IT side of software development. And I don't think we recognized the importance and the criticality of building that skill internally. Traditionally, we've been kind of an IT team that builds and standardizes, or buys and standardizes, and now we're starting to build custom tools. And so we need that skill set that we haven't been developing over the years. And so we need developers. And then I mentioned that data is critical to all of this. And the other key piece of that is, your data architects and your system architects, solution architects. That is a critical skill set that we have to have, and we have some great people internally, but I would say we need even more of that skill set. And you need people with modern skills, right? People who understand the cloud platforms and how to, connect your data with those cloud platforms, and how to connect all your applications that you need to be connecting. So those kind of software development and data management skill sets are other critical pieces that can't be underestimated, I would say, in a digital journey.
You mentioned data sciences and data and data, of course, is a critical foundational element. And are you finding data scientists are now more attracted to oil and gas because of the kinds of challenges that the industry faces? I mean, Calgary was, as one example, as a city with lots of oil companies, was reporting significant shortages of data science skills at one point.
Yeah, and when we started this journey, we anticipated that data scientists would be the hardest of the resources to attract because of the competition from other players. But we haven't experienced that in reality. We have some really great data scientists, and they love the problems that we have. And I think the other thing they love is we have so much data. Now, we have to get that data together, and they have to do a lot of data wrangling, but but they love that we have so much data and such interesting problems. So I think that's been a positive outcome of our journey, is we've been able to get some great data scientists into our team.
Of course, we can't really discuss the world today without at least touching on the pandemic and the impacts that the pandemic has been having on oil and gas. The obvious, of course, is moving people out of office to their home setting when the pandemic first got started. But as you cast your mind forward, what do you see as the impacts of the pandemic, both in the short term and then as you sort of look out further? What might the effects be of the pandemic on oil and gas?
I guess there is a positive outcome of us having to change the way we work. Is we realize we can change the way we work. A big part of digital adoption is the people and the process, right? Not just the technology, right? So people accepting change and accepting doing things a different way. I think people realize we can, and it's not so hard. Prior to the pandemic, a lot of the deployment of new technology or changing a work process was, well, no, we can't do that. We've always done it this way. Well, we want to baby step our way into that. And all of a sudden we had to take giant leap into doing things remotely. And we did, and it was fine. And so I think that's a really good realization for people, is it's okay to take a giant leap and do things differently. We can make it work if we have to. And I think I gave you an example the other day when we chatted about our control room. We built the capability to support our Curl Control Center from Calgary. And we used that capability during the wildfires a few years back. And we had it ready for if we needed emergency support. And we slowly were moving some non-critical control technicians to Calgary to do some work remotely. But we never took that giant leap until the pandemic. And for 6 months now, we've been running one of our Curl control rooms from Calgary, and it's been fine, right? And so it's been great to force us to take that giant leap and change the way we work and realize that we can make it happen.
Let's wrap up with just some concluding thoughts, if you don't mind, on your notions and your observations about this digital journey.
The biggest conclusion I have is that it's no longer optional. If you want to remain competitive in this business environment, you have to adopt digital technology, and really, it's just to improve your business results. When people ask me what's the definition of digital, why do I want to do digital? I'm applying technology to enable and to make my existing assets and people more efficient and effective and productive. It's really that. How do I make my people into superhumans? And how do I make my assets and my equipment into well-oiled machines? Everything optimized and getting the most out of all of the assets that I have, including the people. And it's just no longer optional if you want to be competitive in today's world.
Heather, thank you very much for coming on Energy Dialogues today and sharing with us the journey that you and your company has been on in this drive to digitize the industry.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for having me. And thanks for all your education over the past few years as well.
This has been another episode of Energy Dialogues. Tune in again in the coming weeks for further conversations with industry leaders and analysts in the run-up to ADIPEC 2020, and bye for now.